But it would be interesting to see. I will tell you this. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
Welcome back. President Trump has a new explanation for that infamous moment during the campaign. He told the crowd at a conservative conference this weekend that it was all just a joke.
If you tell a joke, if you're sarcastic, if you're having fun with the audience, if you're on live television with millions of people and 25,000 people in an arena, and if you say something like, Russia, please, if you can, get us Hillary Clinton's emails. Please, Russia, please.
He didn't say that at a rally. He said that at a news conference in front of a bunch of reporters in the middle of the Democratic National Convention after DNC emails were already being leaked. But in the moment, I pressed candidate Trump on that 2.5 years ago and asked him, basically, were you joking? Here's what he said.
Do you have any qualms about asking a foreign government, Russia, China, anybody, to interfere, to hack into a system of anybody's in this country, let alone your rival?
Let the president talk to him. Look, here's the problem.
No, you just called for it a moment ago, Mr. Trump. You said the Russians, I welcome you to find those. You said I welcome them to find those 30,000 emails.
Well, they
of
probably
Hillary
have
Clinton's.
them. I'd like to have them released.
Does that not give you pause?
No, it gives me no pause.
Gave him no pause. With me now is Ambassador Michael McFaul, former U.S. ambassador to Russia, and now an MSNBC international affairs analyst. The president's trying to say it's a big joke. I was there in the moment. He wasn't joking. I gave him an out. He did not take that out as a joke. What were the Russians thinking at the time?
They're thinking that their work was helping Trump to win. WikiLeaks, their data dump, the conversation about the emails and linking it to the 30,000 missing emails that then candidate Trump did very deliberately. That was all part of a messaging, a negative messaging against Secretary Clinton. And the Russians played the instrumental role in that. Without the Russians, that wouldn't have happened. When they heard that, I think they're thinking, oh, our strategy has been working here.
Well, let me ask you this, because the special counsel released an indictment last year, I believe it was July of 2018, where they indicted 13 Russian hackers with ties to the intelligence apparatus in Russia. And they say on or about July 27, 2016, that's the day of that news conference, the conspirators attempted after hours to spearfish for the first time email accounts at a domain hosted by a third-party provider and used by Clinton's personal office. At or around the same time, they also targeted 76 email addresses at the domain for the Clinton campaign. What's interesting about this, Michael, is that they say that this happened. These hackers focused on Hillary Clinton's private servers, Hillary Clinton's emails, for the first time the day or night of Donald Trump asking them to do so.
The evidence is just clear as day. I'm glad you reminded your viewers of that. I remember when I first saw those lines in the indictment, we all assumed that, but they have the evidence there. Incredible, by the way, that we have that intelligence, just to give credit to Mueller and our intelligence community. But think about what we're talking about here. The candidate, Donald Trump, is asking a foreign government, by the way, an enemy government, to help him win the presidential election. And they not only were doing that, and I think played a very important role with the WikiLeaks data dump generally, but then even attempted to go farther when he publicly asked them to do so.
So on or around this time, and I think it's interesting to go back to the summer and look at all of the events that were happening around Donald Trump saying this. And in August, when WikiLeaks was ramping up its attacks on the Clinton campaign and on the DNC, Russia Today started ramping up its attacks on Hillary Clinton as well. They had a Julian Assange special saying, do WikiLeaks, their words, have the email that will put Hillary Clinton in prison? And from that report, they say the U.S. government at the times when Hillary Clinton was in charge of the foreign policy did use Libya as a conduit to get arms to jihadists in Syria. They also talk about Hillary Clinton's health. They sometimes they mirrored a lot of what Donald Trump ended up talking about in the campaign when he started to go after Hillary Clinton.
Exactly. Exactly. Their messaging, and, you know, we have a group here at Stanford doing research on this. Their messaging was very consistent, echoing each other. And candidate Trump and his Trump organization and the presidential campaign with them were encouraging Americans to look at WikiLeaks. He complained many times, if you remember, why aren't the press, Katie, why aren't you guys doing more stories on WikiLeaks? I think in the month of October, he mentioned WikiLeaks 165 times, imploring everybody to see. And remember, he's trying to link two stories that have nothing to do with each other. One is the stolen emails from John Podesta and the DNC, and then linking that with the 30,000 disappeared emails that have this connotation of being corrupt. And the survey data, if you look at October, in the beginning of October, Secretary Clinton's is she qualified to be president? She's at 59%. By the end of the month, she's at 48%.
Wow. Causation
is not correlation, but these two things happen together.
One other thing, and there's more, but we'll get to one other thing. John Brennan calls his counterpart at the FSB in Russia and says, the U.S. knows what you're doing. We know you, the Russians, are hacking into our systems. Knock it off. And then later in August, that didn't work. Later in August, John Brennan gets so concerned, he alerts Congress about Russian interference. There's a New York Times report about that. And he was so concerned about increasing evidence of Russia's election meddling that he began a series of urgent individual briefings for 8 top members of Congress, some of them on secure phone lines while they were on their summer break. When you look at this all together, Donald Trump calls, these emails get hacked. Donald Trump calls for more emails to get hacked. RT is starting their propaganda campaign that mirrors WikiLeaks, which then mirrors what Donald Trump is saying. And the head of the CIA is urgently calling top lawmakers. It seems like we really need to focus on that summer and what happened in those months after Donald Trump accepted the nomination, right before, leading up to it, and what exactly the campaign or the president knew then, and whether or not Russia was taking orders from him or vice versa. It's a lot of questions get raised.
Those are big questions. I hope Mr. Mueller and others will try to answer them. But you're absolutely right. There was a massive campaign from the Russians to influence the election, especially in the last weeks. And maybe it had the impact in the margins. And remember, this election was won in the margins, 78,000 votes.
That is true. We will hopefully find out whatever Mueller comes up with. Ambassador Michael McFaul. Ambassador, good to see you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And ahead, President Trump's epic performance that went on and on and on and on. The 2-hour soliloquy that still has everybody talking.